The series we're going into now is really cool. It has to do with the boxes that you guys had. It is called what?
Out of the box.
Yeah, buddy. Okay. So, and what's sometimes in the box? Sometimes a good prize, like $2. Sometimes not really a prize at all.
What was the other prize? Tea. Nice.
Cool brew. Cool brew. It should be called Cool Bro.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah. So, okay, so what are some topics we got there? What are some topics we got up there? List them off.
Love.
Worship.
Youth groups.
Relationships.
Jesus!
Serving.
Relationships.
Family.
God!
Friendship.
A spirally arrow.
Spirit.
Shut up, leave my bad typo alone. Relationships.
God.
Relationships.
I actually had Brittany proof that, so it's not just my fault.
You're like, what does this look like? I'm like, it looks awesome. That was my proof.
Okay, so you know what this means? There are 12 topics up there, and that means for the next 12 weeks, we're going to be covering all these topics. That means we're going to be going through this series for the next 3 months. How awesome is this? Yeah. So, and what we're going to do is we're breaking it down to each one, and the one we're going to be talking about today is... I know, it's hilarious.
It wasn't really all that funny.
Youth groups are supposed to be funny.
It really wasn't funny at all. There was no humor.
So, okay, so what do we notice?
You picked a nice font. That's what I noticed.
It's because my typography class. So, okay, so what do we notice?
The box is closed.
The box is closed. How closed?
Like,
Pretty close.
sealed closed.
Pretty close. Like those boxes that we had you go through, right? And it was an easy challenge to get into the box? No, it's not. And so we're going to be talking about that symbolism soon. But out of the box, sometimes we tend to put God in a box. In this case, that's what we typically hear with. All those topics we tend to put in boxes. In this case, sometimes we have ideas of what a youth group should be. So we've put a youth group in a box. And we said, this youth group, and right now it's youth group, but later when you get out of high school, it's going to be a church. When you get into your own situation, you start going to your own church, then you'll put your church in a box. So in this case, we're just going to talk about youth groups. So you have a youth group idea of what a good youth group should be, and you've put it in a box. So, and some things, not necessarily, not everything bad that's in the box, or everything you put in the box is bad. In the compartment, it's not bad. But, where we typically go wrong is we seal the box up. First, we have to take the time to close one lid, one little flap, and then we close the other little flap, then we close the other little flap, and then we close the other little flap. And like those ones are like the ones where you like cross over this one, then cross over that one, and then take the other one and put it under, you know? So that took some time and effort. Then it was taped up. So let's talk about youth groups. This is youth group. And we're trying to do stuff that's what?
Out of the box.
Ha right? So that's the goal. We don't want to be in a box, because if we're in a box, God can't use us, right? So we put youth group and God in this box, and God's saying, hey, I want to move outside of this box that you've created. And I want to move outside of that box that you've created, but I can't because you've closed me in. You've taped it shut. You won't let me in. So now our job as Christians is to painstakingly unravel all the tape and pry ourselves into that box as if there is a prize. And the cool part about this is sometimes there's not always a prize. So you can dig in this youth group for 4 years, digging in this youth group, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm invested. I'm doing the youth news every week. I'm here early, helping getting set up. I'm vacuuming. I'm taking out the trash. I'm at every event. I'm doing everything. I'm so passionately in love with God, and I'm doing anything if this makes it. And you leave, and you're like, well, that was kind of pointless. Sometimes there's not a special prize, okay, in that sense. But you really do develop prizes throughout it. We just choose not to see them sometimes. So we have to think outside of our box to what God's really blessing us with. $2 isn't a lot of money, right? But it's more money than you've had because you're broke. You're not broke.
I have a lot of money.
Exactly. Fish is broke. Leah's
Yeah.
broke. Kayla's got more money than all three of you somehow. What makes youth group fun?
People, derp.
People? Why?
Because they're the heart and soul of the youth group. They are the youth group. Without them, it's a building. The youth group is the church, just younger.
Yeah.
More youthful.
Absolutely. What are some other reasons why the youth, having youth at a youth group makes it, what'd you say? Funful? Eventful? Funful? What makes it fun having people to fill the chairs? So you grow friendships. Okay. What else?
Gives you someone to talk to and to relate to, because you know these people are like around your age and they believe what you believe, so there's no like worries, not that there really should be anyway, but you're easily able to relate and just talk about everything without any fear. And when you leave youth group, it's like, oh, you know, like it's harder.
Yeah.
Not that it should be, or that, you know, whatever, but it is.
Because you're in with a bunch of different people, not just with people, a bunch of people.
So it's like going from like a safety zone, like I forget the name, like a sanctuary type place, out into the world. And not that the world is bad or you can't have good things happen there, but your sanctuary is your sanctuary.
Yeah, exactly. So you come in here, and you all have a commonality. You're not all in the same position. Like spiritually, you may be stronger than the person that you're best friends with, or you may be stronger than your or weaker than your best friend, or vice versa. So you're all in different spiritual levels and maturity levels and everything else levels. So it gives us an opportunity to come in together and grow together. So learn from our weaknesses from the person stronger than us, help the person weaker than us, and give them our strengths. So we create that, and then we go out in this world, and then we're around 15 other people where it's like, okay, how am I going to be used in this? So okay, what else? What else makes a fun youth group beside the people?
I think the environment too.
Okay.
If you're, well, it reminds me of like my old church growing up, and it was like this big like classic whatever church, and it was kind of like, it was full of people that were like 20, 30 years older than me, so it was kind of uncomfortable. And it was like even the building too was just kind of not uncomfortable, but it was
old.
Yeah. So
it just felt old.
Yeah. So it not that
because you can have a really old building, but it could be modern.
And not that that's bad. It was just the way it was. Bless you. So a new, not necessarily a new, but a place that's a bit more suited to.
So suited to the environment.
Yeah.
The culture.
Yeah, a culture and environment that helps you to grow and feel comfortable. Because if you're not comfortable, you're probably more locked up.
Sure.
And same with like mega churches and stuff. If I went to a mega church, I would be like freaking roly-poly, like rolling out the door, all rolled up, like locked up, and no. But in a smaller church, maybe not like a small church, but like a decent-sized church or youth group, it's more easily to get to know everyone because there's a decent amount of people, but it's not like everyone knows your business.
Yeah. So it's not small enough where it's like, what's going on? You're so embarrassed to sit here and say it because you're afraid of being judged in one person. But if there's 15 people, then it's like that person goes, oh yeah, I can relate, and that person goes around, and then you're like, okay, I'm not the only one.
and then there's also a sense of like anonymity, not for yourself, but if you're like, oh, I have this friend who's going through this, they're not like, oh, I know them.
Yeah.
You're like,
hey, you're talking about me, aren't you?
Yeah.
Like, that was in secret, jerk.
Is this about how great your scarf is?
Yeah. She did really good on her scarf tying skills today. course, you had a Pinterest it, but that's
I
fine.
need to get more scarves, by the way. BT
Done.
dubs.
Okay, so what else? So we've got people. We've got attractional
Environment.
Okay. So let's expand the environment one. What else do we have in the environment?
Free to fart.
Yeah, yeah, that's one.
Or
What sort of things make the environment fun?
Lucy, derp.
Yeah, Lucy's one. If everyone had a youth group mascot,
I
But
feel
no,
like
seriously.
I've talked a lot, so I'm gonna let other people answer.
Yeah. What other things? What makes when you go to a youth group? What do you want to see to make it fun?
And this is for feedback purposes too, so that we can grow.
Okay, I'm just gonna say too, like, not necessarily fun, but what I really love seeing in a youth group is leaders who actually genuinely care.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like kind of hard to find in youth groups a lot right now, sadly, at least in my experience.
And even youth pastors.
So,
don't
and
even care.
it's attractional too. It's not a game, but it's like I want to go somewhere and be with people who genuinely care and are like in a good place with God. And I know that they're here because they want to be here and not because they're getting paid a lot or they just moved from somewhere and they need this position until they can get this position.
Yeah.
Like they genuinely care. So that's attractional and environmental bonus points.
Do you know how long the average youth pastor stays at a church?
2 days.
At Commons Church. How many?
3 to 4 months.
Nope, little bit longer.
5, 6.
Typically, it's between 6 months to about a year and a half. If they're moving in, they don't know anyone in that city, and they're moving in, it's typically 6 to 8 months. If they grew up in that church, and they go to school and come back, it's typically a year to year and a half. If they grew up in the church and they're still in the church and they roll from one position to the other, it's typically about a year. You know, and so Brittany and I have made it our practice. We've been doing this now with this same core people for the most part for almost 3 years now. So that's pretty exciting. Clap for Jesus. But
Who said I was clapping for you?
So that's Jesus. All right, good job. So that's a good thing. Okay, so we got youth leaders and we have youth pastors. So the youth leaders, man, we need, like, for us, we need more youth leaders. We need to get, 18, 19, 20, 21, 23, 30-year-olds coming in here and being youth leaders to help us out because, like pastoring is shepherding. That's the whole point in teaching. It usually goes back to the same thing. It means pastor teacher. So that's our whole job is to teach and disciple. Okay, so so what else? We got youth leaders, youth pastors. We've got environment, which is part of the environment. What else is fun?
The people.
The what?
The people.
So we got the people. Yep.
Oh, okay.
What else? Well, think about it. Think about a youth group. Think about a time you went to a youth group. What did you find fun about it?
The games.
Games? Sure. What kind of games?
The games they make up.
Okay. So is it games that you play with a small amount of people, or is it games that you play with everyone, or try to get everyone involved?
Small amount of people.
Okay, so you're downstairs playing a board game with 5 other people. And then another table's got 5 other tables, and or 5 other people at that table, and they're playing a game, and you got those people doing that over there, right? So that kind of fellowship, fellowshipping. What?
Yeah, what? I don't know. She's talking about McNuggets. Nuggets team.
Obviously.
Okay. So what else?
Really like if I could speak, and I think the Friday nights have been really.
Yeah. Stuff outside of the youth group.
So within the attractional element, it's stuff not just on Wednesday nights.
Right.
Because it's kind of hard to know a person if you only see them once a week.
Yeah.
So, and then, like, you're just with them for, like, an hour and a half. So then
if even that, because then you got someone teaching for 30 minutes.
So then,
girl?
So then you're on Friday night, then you can be with them for a whole nother 3 hours.
Sure.
And you can get
If not more, typically we're here for like 5 hours, 6 hours.
And in the summer, sometimes we'll just do like all-nighter.
Yeah. So okay, so we've got some stuff laid out, right? So we got extended stuff. What else?
Waffle.
What else would you go if you walked into a youth group, or you have walked into a youth group, and they have structures. We have a structure from 7 to like typically 7:45 or 7:30. We typically fellowship. From 7:35 to about 7:55, we play games, right? Because we don't have what?
Worship.
So worship is a part of youth. Is that something you guys like?
Depends on the type of worship.
Yeah.
Okay.
If it's genuine worship, where
So can I cut you off there?
yeah.
There's only one kind of worship.
Oh well, if
There's
it's
a bunch of-
worship, then that's good. But if it's just people up there like, yeah, Jesus, then no, it's not, because then everyone is just clapping their hands to clap their hands, and everyone is just singing the song to sing the song, and everyone is just standing because they said to stand, and everyone is just there because that's the thing to do.
Okay.
Worship should be about nothing more than you connecting with God through music. And when people do it just to do it, or just because that's what everyone else is doing, or because that's the time to worship, that's not worship. That's just robotic,
It's just a bunch of noise.
Exactly. So if it's true,
And we get a bunch of noise everywhere else, right?
Yeah. If it's true, genuine worship, then it's good, and I enjoy that. And if the music is good and you're able to it's kind of funny, but for me at least, like if they're playing like a lot of new songs every week that are like really complex, and it's like I can't sing along with this, and I love singing along with stuff, but like I don't know, if it's a good, well balanced worship too.
And okay, so
I'm very
a
opinionated
worship
today.
team, and that's good. No, because without that, you have a part. In this youth group, every single person has a part to grow this youth group. So so what Caitlin's saying is that we need authentic worship, real worship, not people up here just because they can play guitar. We want people that want to get up here and lead this youth
Exactly.
group up into worship.
Don't be in worship just because you can be. Be there because you want to be there.
Because you want to be there and
And
worship
people
God.
see that.
Yeah,
Like, if
absolutely.
you're just up there because you can play drums, or if you're just up there because you can sing and you just want to have people hear you sing, they pick up on that, you know?
Absolutely.
Just like how, like, if you're at school and you don't want to be at school, people see that.
Yeah.
But if you're there and you're at least, like, you want to be there and you want to learn, or you want to worship, and it's, like, a genuine feeling in your heart, people see that, and that can help people grow more.
And that makes you a leader as a worship member, and that
Exactly.
makes people want to follow.
I think everyone in the worship team is a worship leader.
Absolutely.
There isn't one specific person. And so, like, there needs to be someone to direct everyone all. But I don't think that person should be necessarily called the worship leader.
No, they technically be called a pastor because they're teaching. They teach. They're a worship pastor. They teach the rest of the worship team
Yeah.
how to grow in worship. So
Yeah,
so
but-
you have that hierarchy, but at the same time they're all the same position. That's kind of like us, and it's like we're all the same position. Like I am no greater than you are. That's it. When God gets up there, He's gonna be like, "What's up, Sarah? What's up, Patrick? Come on."
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
like,
no,
sorry,
I gotta-
sorry, Leah. Sorry, Leah.
Wait, what?
You've been grounded too much. You go to the other place. No, but seriously though. So Caitlin brings up a good point, and so does Leah. We have to create these worship, and guess what? Each one of us individually is responsible not for the person next to us is worshiping, but for our own. So, like I'll tell you, this previous church, a couple previous churches we were at 2 churches ago. They had, this youth group had this awesome worship team, and they were up there doing their thing, and here I am in the back. I'm watching all of our youth, worshiping. I'm like, okay, you guys do your thing, because I'm back here, I'm worshiping, and I'm like, yeah, I'm worshiping God. I'm like feeling God. I might get a little misty-eyed. I'm like showing him a bro. If I cry, the girls are gonna start sobbing too. Can't have that. So I'm like, when you yawn, you get the tears in your eyes. I'm like, oh yeah. So I'm back there, I'm worshiping, because I don't care what Sarah's doing. I don't care what Leah's doing. I don't care what Caitlin's doing, because I'm trying to follow the lead of that band. I don't even care what Kinsey's
Especially not Kinsey.
There you go.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody's doing because I'm there to worship God. You see, youth group, we put youth group in a box. We're youth group, we want to sit here and we want to go, we want to experience friends. That's the biggest youth pastor complaint ever, is no one's here to grow. Not here, but that generally speaking, the typical biggest youth pastor problem, I talked to a lot of youth pastors, is that very issue. Is that they really aren't there to grow. They don't care about God. They're more content seeing their friend and saying hi, or playing drums or guitar or singing on stage, than they are like, I'm here to experience God greater than when I walked in the door. And so this is the out of the box mentality that we've created. Again, our name's rehab, right? Rehabilitation. We need a little rehabilitation on our thinking process and get ourselves out of this box. Okay, so we've covered worship, we've covered people, we've covered youth leaders, youth pastors, and we've covered environment, which is attraction element. So we've got quite a handful of things that make up a youth group. Okay, what about the messages? The messages are an integral part of your youth group. Caitlin, go ahead.
I have so much to say. I blame my lion hair. It's making me all feisty.
I
was like, wait. Sorry. No, message. Oh my goodness. Kinsey, I'm sure you have a lot to say too about messages. So I think I should actually
Kinsey, why don't you go?
Kinsey, yeah, you go first and then I'll just add on because I'm sure I'm going to add on.
Okay. So I think that it should be connecting to people and not like being a parent or like being a friend, but like being someone that you can talk to more than a friend, and having them actually like you wanting to like connect to the message and wanting to like be there all the time and learn more, because what the person is doing is good and you want to learn from what he's preaching. And I don't like I don't like it when they talk about a lot about themselves, but more about God and stuff. And that's like what I want to see in the youth pastor. Like I don't know, like say like
Sorry, just making up saying it.
No, like
That's fine. Collect your thoughts, Caitlin.
I think to add on to Kinsey, because I said I would, the occasional story, like personal story, is good because that helps to reinforce the message.
Sure.
But if it becomes like, you shouldn't do this because I've been through that and that's not a good thing, and not backing it up with the Bible or anything biblical or anything to do with Jesus, it's not a message. It's just like one of those things in like, you know, a hotel ballroom where people go and cry.
Speakers.
Yeah, motivational speakers, you know, gone from nowhere to now here. Like, it shouldn't be that. It should be the person cares so much about Jesus and they want to teach you, and it's not like Kinsey said, it's not like a parental thing, like you shouldn't do this like specific person because of this and that's going to send you to hell or anything, like trying to rule your life. They should be a leader through their own life and an advice giver and a support team of themselves, like in a way with all the other leaders, but it should be a support team, and the message should reflect that. If you see a problem in a youth group, maybe it would be a good idea to have a message that reflects that problem instead of just plowing through whatever you're doing, you know?
So you make a good point. So you're saying that a youth group shouldn't have anything that's canned.
Exactly.
Because a lot of youth groups actually, did you know this? Like probably every youth group that you know in your head typically buys their messages.
That's terrible. How does that relate to anyone in that group? The message needs to be relatable. I think that's why a lot of people zone out. It's like, oh, I've heard this before. It's not delivered in a new way, and then people aren't able to relate to it. And also, too, a big thing is I feel like with a lot of messages, it's directed at one specific age group instead of all. And if you're gonna do that, then break up the age groups and then preach it each individually. But if you're trying to go for a broad range, make sure that the message can fit a broad range.
Yeah.
And if you don't feel like it's doing that, like, get feedback. I think a lot of things with like preaching and messages too is like people, like, I feel like a lot of them just don't care. Like, they're like, I'm gonna preach this, if you don't connect, that's your fault, instead of being like, I'm preaching this, you don't feel like you connected, like, why is that? Is there anything I can do more? Like, is there something, like,
maybe you
whatever.
need them a little bit more extended.
Exactly.
One-on-one discipling or something.
Yeah, exactly. Or more in depth in the topic instead of just like being butter on toast. I want to see those 9 grains. Like,
that's some really good toast right there. Because typically you get a 7-grain bread. So like 2 extra grains, like I've never seen before. But if I find one, it's going to be on your doorstep. Just
I don't know. I'm ranting and I'm rambling, so that's just what came out.
Good.
What about
what?
Leah and Sarah? What do you guys think? I mean, you guys are pretty much relatively new to a youth group environment,
I love
right? You've had, sort of those, whatever that was called.
We had it with like a bunch of girls.
Yeah.
So it was kind of different to go.
Back off.
Not downplaying it, I'm just saying it wasn't like a youth group, it was just felt like a fellowship kind of, thing.
Chicks chilling.
Bunch of chicks chilling, yeah. And so what do you think? What do you think that I mean, there's a reason why you're with them and not in the main youth group, right? So what were the reasons?
Well, I think
I couldn't connect to the youth pastors. Like, I didn't feel like they were personal enough.
were they only focused on like a couple people,
When
and
I
then they
talked
wouldn't make time for everybody else.
So they favorited different groups, or like, and that was always my biggest
Or
problem.
like the popular people
Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of thing. Like,
Or
there's
like-
a
there
popular
should not be
Yeah.
popular cliques in church.
No.
Yeah,
Holy
exactly.
crap!
I was like the little
to be-
loser shoved off to the corner
Jesus
with my
is like-
Bible.
Jesus is like,
You don't even
you
bring your Bible
disciples,
anymore.
but not
Because
you
of
guys
that.
disciples.
Well, now you guys start bringing your Bible.
You 9, you're alright,
totally
but I like these
Oh,
three
my dad.
better.
Can you ask them for 10
Crap,
minutes?
Jesus, you're supposed to love us all.
Okay.
But so like when I came in the door, they were
Jesus,
just like,
John,
"Hey, how are
right?
you?" I'm like, "I'm good." And then I was trying to have a conversation,
And they
and I
walk
just
off.
left.
Yeah, they're just like, hi.
Bye. Nice talking to
I know
you.
exactly.
And at your ages at that time, you didn't know that you had a part to play in like, hey, can we go have bucks and talk, kind of thing. So yeah, I get that.
Oh, I feel like I could never do that with a lot of other youth groups. You're like the first youth leader I could actually be like, I'm having a terrible day, can we get Jamba Juice? And you'd be like, game on, or tomorrow, or something.
Absolutely.
Others, they would
That's
be like,
our mentality.
never text back. I've actually texted other youth leaders before, and they haven't never texted back.
Oh my gosh,
Really?
same here.
Ever. And it's been like a distressful thing, like,
Well, because you're reaching out and they're not reaching back.
exactly!
Yeah. And that's their job.
Exactly!
It's not, even if they don't get paid for it, like we don't get paid for it, it's still our job. It's
You
our
should have that
responsibility.
passion. If you're a youth leader, be a youth leader. I'm sorry, I'm getting all
No,
of this.
that's true. This is
Okay.
But this is
Check your pulse.
the thing about this is these are all these things. The church. Even the church, okay, so typically, like, we're a community youth group. We have a collaboration of about 9 different churches that come to this youth group, okay? So,
He said we have to go now.
okay, so
looked here.
let's wrap it up. We're almost done. So we typically put this stuff, these ideas, and churches put these ideas of what a youth group is. A youth group's supposed to have 2 youth pastors, husband and wife team, or it's a single guy and another youth pastor, assistant youth pastor, and then everyone's supposed to sit here and, okay, we're gonna have a worship band, and we don't care, as long as they play, we're gonna throw them up there. Okay, we got that. Now we're gonna have some youth leaders. Oh, that guy looks like he's hip. He, raises his pants down to his ankles. He's cool. Let's get him in here. They don't care about that. They don't, and they get second boxes, and that's fine. They say, okay, this is the way we do stuff by the book, and if you go outside of the way what's in our box, then all of a sudden it's wrong. Even if it's not crossing any biblical boundaries, it's wrong. And so God's saying, hey, watch me work. If you allow me to sit here and work, and let me tell you something, God will still work inside of a box. He'll still make some stuff happen. He can still yell through this box. But God can't fully work through us if we don't let him out of the box and say, you do what you want to do in this youth group. That's Brittany and I's goal, is to say, God, you want a worship team? Give us the people that have it. If you want us to have a big youth group, give us the people to have. If you want us to have Sarah Drusik by herself in this youth group, I will prepare the same 8 hours a week
Right
and
on,
deliver a
Sarah.
message right to Sarah.
Yeah.
If God says, I want the person in college that's going to ACC as a youth leader, train her up. Teach her how to be a youth leader. That I'm so fine with. And I said she, I don't know why. So we tend to put God in the box, okay? So let's look at a verse really fast. Grab your Bible really fast.
Yeah.
You're putting your shoes on.
Grab your bibs.
She's gonna be.
Okay?
Dr. Bibbs. I don't know
2
why I thought that,
Timothy
but just Dr. Bibbs.
4, verse 12. 2 Timothy 4, verse 12. First person there, read it really loud.
4:12.
Yep.
I sent. I sent. I
You
sent.
got this.
Tissues to Ephesus.
Ephesus.
Oh,
Ephesus.
Tychus.
Tychius.
Ephesus. That's it.
That's a great verse.
Very conversational.
You know what's funny is that's actually.
I'm so sorry.
That was awesome. Sorry, Bob.
Hold on. Okay. So.
Very.
Okay. So here.
relatable.
Let me see.
It's my life
I
first.
can relate to that.
Okay.
Very
life
much
first.
Wait. Listen.
Yeah.
Let me try 1 Timothy 4. Someone look up 1 Timothy 4:12. You know I have the habit of doing this, changing the 1 for 2s. So let's just see if that's it.
Okay, yeah, that sounds better.
There it is. Okay. Ready? You ready? Read this out of the box. Rehab Student Ministries. We're out of the box. Read this.
Don't let anyone think less of you because you are young. Be an example to all believers in what you say, in the way you live, in your love, in your faith, and your purity.
Okay, simple as that. This is the verse. This is your verse for the week. Okay, think about this verse. God's saying, hey, I want to use you guys. He's saying, hey, I want to use you guys. Think outside the box. Let me out of the box. This is your youth group. You want something to happen, you got to come to me and Brittany and tell me. If you want to say, hey, I think we should do a little prayer time before we go to the message, then let's do it. Let's try it. If it doesn't work, no one's getting into it, we'll go down a different route. But this is your youth group. You want more people here? You want people here? Invite them. If you have a summer job and you want to get some attractional stuff, tithe. 10%. Every dollar you make, 10% should go right into your youth group or your church. Okay? Tithe. That's what God says. Tithe. Okay? Because if you don't tithe, you're not being responsible with your money. And then when you have money problems or job problems, then don't figure out why. You didn't give back to God what God given you, and it's a blessing. So that's it.